What's up guys and welcome back to the channel. In our first news, Max Holloway has shared his thoughts on the highly anticipated heavyweight showdown between Tom Aspinall and Ciryl Gane, set to headline UFC 321. In his latest YouTube video, Holloway broke down the matchup and offered a confident prediction on how he believes the fight will play out. According to Holloway, there are still big questions surrounding Gane's takedown defense and head movement, and he thinks those weaknesses could be exactly what Aspinall needs to capitalize on. Holloway began by pointing out how important Gane's ability to handle pressure and wrestling exchanges will be. The main thing for me, the biggest question I got for this fight, is how his takedown defense is going to look, or even his head movement, Holloway said, because Tom is going to be doing those fake shots and coming in with big overhand rights. I think Tom's going to start early and start fast. That's just who he is. He went on to explain that Aspinall's pace and explosiveness have become trademarks of his style, and it's hard to bet against him given his recent performances. It'd be insane not to take the under, just because of Tom Aspinall. He's been there and he's been knocking out a who's who in the division, Holloway said. But then again, on the other side, Ciryl Gane is no joke. He's a tough guy, skilled everywhere, and you can never count him out. Even with respect for Gane's striking and movement, Holloway believes Aspinall's complete skill set gives him the edge. With Tom having the record he's got, it's just hard to go against him right now, he continued. The dude looks unbeatable. He looks strong, fast, and confident. Everything about him just screams that he's ready for this moment. Holloway also commented on the betting odds, acknowledging how heavily favored Aspinall is going into the bout. The odds suck though, he said with a laugh. A minus 355, that's tough. But if I had to pick, the better odds would be Tom Aspinall under 2.5 rounds. That's probably the move. I got his hand being raised. He concluded by throwing in a bold prediction, suggesting fans shouldn't be surprised if Aspinall finishes Gane on the ground. There's a lot of questions about Cyryl's ground game and takedown defense, Holloway said. I think Tom goes out there and handles business. And if you want to throw in something crazy, maybe Tom by submission. That wouldn't shock me at all. For Holloway, this fight isn't just about who hits harder, it's about who can impose their game first. And from his perspective, Tom Aspinall looks like the man to do just that, possibly ending the night before the halfway mark of the second round. And before we continue, make sure to leave a like on the video and subscribe to help support the channel. Moving on to another news. Since losing his belt to JDM at UFC 315, Belal Muhammad has been campaigning hard for a fight with former welterweight champion Kamaru Usman. Belal has been vocal on social media, calling out Usman repeatedly and trying to set up a showdown between the two. However, during the UFC 321 press conference, Usman made it clear that he's not interested in settling personal beefs right now. His focus is solely on reclaiming the UFC welterweight title, not engaging in fights that don't move him closer to that goal. When asked about Belal's repeated callouts, Usman didn't mince words. He dismissed the idea of fighting him anytime soon, saying that Belal has more to gain from that matchup than he does. We didn't really have a lot of back and forth, Usman said. It was mostly a lot coming from him. I just think he's a dork. And you know what you do with dorks? You ignore them. He explained that while Belal has been busy trying to stir things up online, he's keeping his attention on something bigger, the championship belt that once belonged to him. Usman pointed out that Belal is currently ranked higher in the division, but that doesn't change his priorities. Right now, Belal Muhammad is ranked number 1 in the division, and I'm below him, Usman said. But I'm looking at the title. I've been where he hasn't been. Yes, of course he's been a champion, but we saw what happened when it was time for him to defend. I have nothing to gain from fighting Belal Muhammad. He has everything to gain from fighting me. That's why he's the one calling me out. Usman made it clear that he's not here to waste time with fights that don't elevate his position or bring him closer to the title. He wants meaningful matchups that help him reclaim his spot at the top of the welterweight division. I'm not here to waste time, he said firmly. I want to get the title and continue on my track of defending and being that champion again. Why waste time with him? If I have the title and he's the next guy, I would happily kick his head in. The statement left no doubt about Usman's intentions. He's not interested in personal feuds or online trash talk. His mission is redemption. Losing the belt was a hard pill to swallow, and his focus now is on climbing back to the top, one fight at a time. While Belal continues to chase the opportunity to face him, Usman's eyes remain locked on the gold, proving that his ambition to reclaim the throne burns brighter than ever. Moving on to another news, Demetrious Johnson has shared his thoughts on the UFC 321 main event between Tom Aspinall and Ciryl Gane, offering a confident prediction for the heavyweight title clash. In his latest video, the former flyweight king broke down the matchup in detail and made it clear that, in his opinion, Aspinall is simply operating on a different level right now. According to Johnson, Aspinall's all-around skill set and composure inside the octagon make him the clear favorite to retain the heavyweight championship. Johnson began by praising Aspinall's complete approach to fighting, pointing out that he's one of the rare heavyweights who can do it all. Every time Tom Aspinall steps into the UFC cage, he keeps the heavyweight division alive and exciting, Johnson said. He can fight anywhere, on the feet, on the ground, or in the clinch. The only time Tom gets into trouble is when someone tries to hit him, and he pulls his head straight back, taking himself out of his shell. That's really the only flaw you see in his game. game. When it came to analyzing Gaethje, Johnson acknowledged his athleticism and technical ability, but made it clear that Aspinall still has the advantage. The one thing Ciryl Gane has going for him is that he's a big, athletic guy who moves very well on the feet, Johnson explained. But even then, not as well as Tom Aspinall. Ciryl has great kicks, a strong right hand, and he's very dynamic with his push kicks and movement. In preparation for this fight, I'm sure his camp is focusing heavily on wrestling, maybe even bringing in Olympic-level wrestlers to help him prepare. Despite Gane's improvements, Johnson pointed out the glaring hole in his game. Cyryl's biggest weakness has always been his grappling, he said, and that's a problem when you're going up against a guy like Tom, who's so well-rounded. Tom can strike, he can wrestle, and he knows exactly when to mix things up. Johnson emphasized that Aspinall's combination of power, speed, and precision makes him one of the most dangerous heavyweights the UFC has seen in years. I'm going with Tom Aspinall, Johnson stated confidently. He hits too hard, but more importantly, he's accurate. People talk about his power, but what really stands out is how sharp his punches are. When he throws that 1-2 down the pipe, it's clean, it's fast, and it lands every time. He understands distance, timing, and when to pull the trigger. For Johnson, there's no doubt that Aspinall will find a way to get it done once again. His confidence, accuracy, and all-around skill make him a tough puzzle for anyone. And Johnson believes UFC 321 will be another showcase of why Tom Aspinall is truly a level above the rest of the division. Moving on to another news, former UFC light heavyweight champion Jamahal Hill has revealed that he'll be sidelined for nearly a year following a serious knee injury and major surgery. In a recent interview with Home Fight, Hill opened up about the extent of the damage and the challenging recovery process ahead. He explained that doctors discovered he had virtually no cartilage left in his knee, something that had been affecting his performances for quite some time. The injury severely limited his ability to throw kicks, bounce around, and move with his usual explosiveness inside the octagon. Hill shared that he underwent a cartilage transplant procedure to repair the damage and restore function in his knee. Apparently, the cartilage in my knee was almost non-existent, Hill said. There were some really bad tears in there, even in the cartilage itself. So I went ahead and had a cartilage transplant to try to fill that area back up and get some bounce back in my legs. He explained that in his most recent fights, fans might have noticed how different his movement looked. If you noticed in the last couple fights, I wasn't really hopping or bouncing the same way. I wasn't throwing those flying kicks or moving like I used to, he admitted. That was all because of the damage I was dealing with in my knee. The surgery, while necessary, is expected to keep him out of action for quite some time. Hill said the goal right now is full recovery and rebuilding his physical strength before thinking about a return. This is something I tried to avoid for a long time because I wanted to get my belt back, he said. I lost it while I was at the top because of injury, and I just wanted to come back as soon as possible to reclaim it. But the pain kept getting worse, and eventually, I had no choice but to fix it the right way. When asked about a potential timetable for his return, Hill said that he's targeting the end of next year, meaning fans may not see him compete again until late 2026. I'm looking at maybe the end of next year, he confirmed. Yeah, it could mean I'll be out for a whole year, but that's what it takes to get right. I'm not trying to rush it this time. Despite the setback, Hill remains optimistic and motivated. He believes the surgery will help him return stronger than ever. His focus now is on rehabilitation, rebuilding his strength, and coming back with the same fire that made him a fan favorite in the first place. The road ahead won't be easy, but Hill's determination to recover fully and fight again shows the kind of resilience that defines true champions in the sport of mixed martial arts. Moving on to another news, Justin Gaethje has made headlines once again as he pressures the UFC to make his long-awaited fight against Ilia happen, and he's got his eyes set on a very special stage, the potential UFC card at the White House. During a recent Q&A session, Gaethje was asked about his next move, and the former interim lightweight champion didn't hesitate to share his thoughts. He made it clear that Ilia is the man he wants next, explaining that he initially hoped to face him in January, but for reasons beyond his control, that matchup never came together. Now, Gaethje believes the White House event would be the perfect stage for their showdown, and he's not holding back and pushing for it. He said that from the very beginning of his career, he's always been one of the most loyal and reliable fighters in the UFC. He's never pulled out of a fight, never missed weight, and never let the company down. In his words, he's always shown up and done exactly what the promotion needed him to do, and now he hopes that loyalty finally pays off with the fight he's been asking for. Gaethje added that he's not interested in waiting around while others get opportunities that he believes he deserves. My next fight. I'm planning on fighting whenever Ilia is fighting, Gaethje said confidently. I was hoping they'd let me fight him in January, but I can't really see that happening now. The biggest question is, when is Ilia fighting again? I don't know the answer to that, and I don't think anybody except him and his team knows. Best case scenario, they just put us on that White House card. I cannot imagine why they wouldn't put that fight on that stage. He's a champ, he's very popular, and I'm an American. I think I'm just as deserving as anybody else in the lightweight division. I've never not shown up for a fight, never failed the UFC, and I've always been there for them. So I expect to get that fight and represent the United States of America on the White House lawn. It's clear that Gaethje isn't just chasing another payday, he's chasing legacy. A clash between him and Ilia on such a historic card would be a massive moment, not just for the UFC, but for fans all over the world. The pressure is now on the promotion to see if they'll make Gaethje's wish come true. Moving on to another news, Ilia has opened up about who he wants to fight next, giving fans a clearer picture of what could be coming in his UFC journey. In a recent interview with Diario AS, the undefeated champion offered a candid update on his future, as speculation continues to swirl about potential showdowns with big names like Justin Gaethje, Arman, and Paddy Pimblett. While Ilia has been linked to several of these high-profile opponents, he made it clear that if it were up to him, Paddy is the fight he wants most. He explained that right now, there's nothing official in the works, and that most of what's being said online is purely rumor. There's really nothing official at the moment, Ilia said. I haven't had any direct or official conversations with the UFC either. Everything right now is just rumors. As soon as I get the call and we start talking details, I'll be able to share more. But for now, honestly, it's all just talk. Despite that, Ilia didn't hold back on who he'd choose if given the option. If it were up to me, I think I'd rather fight Paddy because there's history between us, he said. I think it would be a much more entertaining fight for the fans. At the end of the day, I compete to entertain everyone and give them a unique experience. And I think with Paddy, we could definitely achieve that. The rivalry between Ilia and Paddy has been building for quite some time, fueled by back-and-forth exchanges and constant fan debates online. A fight between the two would no doubt draw massive attention, blending real tension with the kind of excitement that defines the sport. While Ilia remains patient for the UFC's official call, it's clear he knows exactly who he wants standing across from him next. And fans around the world are already imagining the fireworks that could follow if that matchup finally becomes a reality. Moving on to another news, Bisping and Paul Felder have shared their thoughts on the upcoming UFC 321 main event between Tom Aspinall and Ciryl Gane. During the latest episode of their BYM podcast, both analysts agreed that while Gane is a very dangerous and athletic opponent, Aspinall's all-around skill set and focus will likely earn him another win inside the octagon. Bisping began by praising Aspinall's speed and precision, especially for a heavyweight. When he's ripping combos on the pads, Tom is unreal, Bisping said. It's like watching a welterweight crack pads, the way he moves, the way he shifts his weight, the balance, the speed. It's just different, Felder agreed, adding that Aspinall's striking fluidity and explosiveness make him stand out in a division often dominated by power punchers. However, Felder also pointed out that the fight could be very interesting if Gane manages to keep the action standing for long stretches. I think this fight could be really interesting, Felder said. If Ciryl can keep this fight on the feet for extended periods of time, that's where things get tricky. He's got that slick footwork, great movement, and he can frustrate a lot of heavyweights with his distance control. But if I had to give my pick, I'm still going with Tom Aspinall to get the dub. The conversation then shifted to Gane's preparation for the fight and some of the criticism surrounding his training habits. Felder mentioned a comment supposedly made by Gani's coach, Fernand Lopez, suggesting that wrestling wasn't a major focus for their camp. Apparently, Fernan said something like, "He's not a very good wrestler, so why waste time working on wrestling?" Felder explained. Now, I don't know if DC was joking or not, but if that's true, it's wild. Because if there's one area Tom is guaranteed to test you in, it's grappling. Ignoring that part of your game could be a big mistake. Bisping added that Gane's lack of focus on wrestling has been a recurring issue throughout his career. He's such a talented striker, but when it comes to the ground, that's where the problems show up, Bisping said. You can't overlook that. Tom can take you down, control you, and finish you from top position. He's not just a puncher, he's a complete martial artist. They also discussed Gane's outside interests, particularly his growing involvement in movies and other projects. Bisping noted that while it's not a criticism, it might have taken away from his focus. Look, I get it, Bisping said. He's been doing films and other stuff, and I did the same thing. So this isn't me taking a shot at him at all. But when you look at Tom, it's the total opposite. He's obsessed with the game. There are zero distractions for him. He's 100% focused on becoming the best in the world, and that's a huge factor at this level. By the end of the discussion, both Bisping and Felder were in complete agreement. There's no point even asking, Bisping laughed. We both have Tom winning this. Felder nodded, adding, yeah, I think Tom gets it done, and I think he finishes him. He's too sharp, too quick, and too dangerous everywhere. Their analysis reflected the growing belief among fighters and analysts alike. Tom Aspinall's skill, mindset, and precision make him one of the most complete heavyweights the UFC has ever seen. And both Bisping and Felder are confident he'll prove that again at UFC 321.